What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. Today's video, we're taking a look at the final limited meta we have in the season of Max Out. One of your final chances that's coming up, man. The end of the season's coming up, so it's getting crunch time here. Try and hit those goals. Hopefully, you're able to make it. I believe every single one of you, whether I know you or not, can hit the goal that you have put out for yourself, whether that be veteran, ace for the first time, legend even. Just do your best. Remember, continue to focus on improving your own play and don't let the elo that is in front of you ruin your mental well-being, I suppose. This game has awkward ways of getting in our head. But anyway, we're looking at the Retro Cup today, and that is going to be a cup that has Open Great League minus, with a ban, on all Dark, Fairy, and Steel types. And what jumps out to me here the most is going to be the usual suspect of there's nothing here that resists Ghost except for normal types, and there's nothing here that resists Dragon, period. The only two types in this game that actually resist Dragon are Fairy and Steel, and both of which are banned. So this is going to be a bit of a weird Open Great League situation where you're going to see a lot of dragons, but also see a lot of like people trying to run like Clodsire, Licky Core. Oranguru is something that has been around for a while. The last few times we've had Retro Cup, it always seems to do well, being normal, doing confusion damage. Psychic is, by the way, another unresisted type, as there's no dark types, there's no steel types, and well, I guess Psychic resists Psychic, but you have Oranguru with Brutal Swing in order to deal super effective dark type damage, which is nice to have. Otherwise, if you go further down the list, obviously Clodsire #1, and I think in this meta, because there's no fairies, Clodsire with Stone Edge is far more reliable in this meta. I probably wouldn't opt for the Sludge Bomb variant in this case. But we got Licky Oranguru, which is going to be that first team that you're seeing here on this overlay. Is we've got basically top 3 PvP poke. Right? Licky is going to be a very solid save switch. You can run it with Earthquake if you like, but also you want to be using it just to put pressure on the opponents, right? It's not necessarily going to win you switch every time, especially if the opponent wants to bring in a Mud Slapper, which this team is a little bit weak to Mud Slap. So if you wanted to, you could throw Feraligatr in place of Licky. You could throw really any safe switch Pokemon, maybe even Drifblim that you like in place of it. You know, there's things that you can use instead of Licky in order to combat the meta. I don't have any Mud Slappers in my teams in this video because I feel like while they're going to be good, like I think that Cancel Marowak is going to be really good if you have one. A lot of people don't have it, so I'm not going to worry about building teams around the Mud Slappers in this case. Let's instead worry about how to beat them, right? So if you want to play Solar Beam on the Licky, by the way, I think that would be really interesting. But some other stuff that I want to just kind of throw out here real quick. All of the Dragon Breath and Dragon Tail Dragon types. Dugong also going to be super interesting here in this meta. Is just, it's always good. Like Dugong is just always good. And then Cresselia, if you happen to have one, is also another really strong pick. So let's take a look at the first team here on paper. This is going to be your top 3 PvP poke. And again, you could, if you wanted to, you could take Licky and you could move out of it for a Dugong or a Drifblim or something else that is going to have positive play into Mud Slap, because you're going to see a few of those in this cup. There are definitely quite a bit of ground types that were not banned. You know, Gastrodon, Kanto Marowak, Golurk, just to name a few. But we're going to be looking at a team that almost gets a perfect letter score here. And honestly, I wonder if we like put Dugong in here. Let's just see what putting Dugong here. We'll do it live, right? Dugong in here gives this team... Okay, so it puts it down to a C. So, like, overall, Licky is going to have better play into the meta, especially because Licky is an answer to Dugong in and of itself. But the team gets really solid coverage. Gastrodon and Diggersby are going to be some potential problems for this team. But overall, it's going to depend on what the meta looks like, because there could be quite a few people that opt to run things that, you know, beat the Gastrodon Serperior and Diggersby into the point where the people aren't going to try to run them. But I do think that the Serperior is going to be another thing, which we're going to see a team about Serperior pretty soon. But just in general, though, there's very few things in this meta that beats this whole team on paper. So it's a very reliable, very consistent team. And once Oranguru gets going, like if it gets a chance to farm something down with those Brutal Swing or with the confusions, and then come out with either Trailblaze or a bunch of Brutal Swings, you're going to have a good time. So let's take a look at another team here in the Retro Cup. Remember, I was talking about dragons, right? There's a triple Dragon Breath team. Team has really strong play into a lot of this meta, as there's really not much that can straight up just resist the dragon type damage that comes from anything on this team. Now, what dragons you use are completely up to you. You could use Gudra, Shadow Dragonair, Arctibax, Hakamo, you know, anything with dragon type fast move pressure is going to be good here. And then you could simply pick whichever ones you prefer. Like if you don't want to be weak to a Oranguru on save swap with the Hakamo, then play Dragonair, right? Like there's a lot of options here that we can use. This team overall, even though it gets an F for coverage, it's because it's literally all one type. But these Pokemon have incredible amount of play into the meta. So Cresselia and Aurora's like actual like ice type counters are going to be tough. So if you see a lot of dragon or see a lot of Dugong, maybe this is a reason to run Dugong so that you have an answer for those pesky dragon types. But overall, your opponent would essentially need something really bulky or something that does super effective damage into dragons in order to really combat this team. But this team has been used in some form or another for the last several Retro Cups. So if people start disrespecting dragon types, you know what to do. You know what to do. So speaking about respecting dragon types, right? So this is a team I built around Primeape, and I feel like the Aurorus Dugong might be a little bit too obvious here. You could probably change it around if you wanted to, but I wanted to put a team around the Primeape, and you could also use Annihilate in place of Primeape as well. Having that ghost typing allows Annihilate to be very good at being an anti-fighter at the same time as being a fighter. You just get that really nice pacing advantage with Primeape, but Aurorus here looks like a really strong contender for this cup, as you will be seeing quite a few teams that do not appreciate being swept by something with Meteor Beam. And if you look at this, like this team has 3 X's across the board on several big contenders in this meta. So something like, I'm also surprised that Oranguru loses to Primeape. I'm guessing it's because of like a boosted close combat or something, but you have positive play as Primeape really does not have any hard counters aside from the confusion users and psychic. And even then, like because of the fact that it has fighting and ghost coverage moves, there's not a single Pokemon in the entirety of Pokemon Go. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that this is true. There's nothing in the entirety of Pokemon Go that resists the combination of fighting and ghost coverage. So Primeape is extremely safe. You could throw it on safe swap, you could throw it as a closer, you could throw it on your lead, however you want to do it. But Primeape itself, like Primeape Dugong or Primeape Aurorus as a core, is very, very strong. As far as the things that beat this team, you have to be careful with Serperior. And again, like I said, Annihilate is maybe a better thing to put in the lead here because Annihilate would actually do really well into this whole team. And then you have unusual things like Gallade, Bruxish, Elisipod. Nobody's going to play Deoxys because unfortunately counter got nerfed to the point where no one's going to want to use it. And then Primeape itself, right? Like but the things that beat this team are very few and far between. So it's really good into what the expected meta is going to be. Aurorus, I think, has a really good chance to shine here, and Primeape is just really good. So getting into the next team here. Now, this is a team that I wanted to build around Serperior. You could replace the Miltank with really just about... You could replace it with almost anything, to be completely honest. But I like the Miltank and Dunsparce because Miltank has a really good potential to sweep with Thunderbolt. And even if you wanted to put something like Ice Beam and Thunderbolt, if you like, for extra coverage, or you could just go with the Body Slam. But Dunsparce is, as always, just a really strong safe switch. And I was playing a version of this team in the Open Great League, whereas instead of Serperior, or instead of Miltank, it was Dugong. So if you wanted to, you could also run Serperior, Dunsparce, Dugong as a very strong trio here. I think that Serperior could have a lot of play, especially if you wanted to try and maybe put it in the back on a team. So maybe if you wanted to, you could put Dunsparce in the lead, or put the, Dugong in the lead, and then put the Serperior in the back, because there's going to be a lot of rollout safe switches in this meta, like Licky Licky, Dunsparce, Miltank. They're going to be really common, so it wouldn't be too bad of an idea to put Serperior in the back because it has extremely positive play into those rollouts. But otherwise, you could do well also by maybe putting it like another version of this team that I could see doing okay is maybe Dunsparce, Dugong in the lead, and then do something like Annihilate in the back, and Serperior in the back. And those, like, if you see a lot of double normal, double rollout, like those two Pokemon in the back would just obliterate anybody running double roll. But look at the X's on this team, dude. This is crazy. But Hakamo, okay, Clodsire, but I'm pretty sure that this is Sludge Bomb Clodsire, which nobody's really going to be using too much of. So this team is going to do really well into the meta in general. There's really nothing on this list that I'm afraid of here, aside from the Clodsire, that makes this uncomfortable. But if you have Ice Beam, or if you play Dugong instead of Miltank, you have much better play into all forms of Clodsire in general, but you have super effective damage on the Dunsparce. You've got the Frenzy Plants to hit the Clodsire hard on Serperior. As long as they don't have Sludge Bomb, you're good. And then everything else is like, it's not going to be very common at first, so I wouldn't worry too much about any of these things. Team is looking really solid, but let's look at the final team on my list here. So this last team is one that I kind of threw together as a way to build around Cresselia. Cresselia, actually, the first time that we had Legend, or we had Retro Cup, the first time ever, I was able to hit Legend with a team of Cresselia, Regirock, Frostlass. This team reminds me of that team a little bit, in that it has one of the most potent sweepers, has one of the best safe swaps, and Cresselia is just really, really strong because of its typing and moveset into this whole meta. There's no steel types, and fire types are very few and far between because of Gator, Clodsire, Dunsparce, all the rock type rollout users. Like, there's not very many places for a fire type to go in this cup. So this team would do really well. Cresselia is extremely strong, and if you wanted to flip the team around, you could even do, you know, Dunsparce on the lead with Gator and Cresselia in the back if you wanted. This team can really be played in any order. I feel like this is just a really strong anti-meta team with a Feraligatr safe switch. Serperior is a little bit uncomfortable for the Cresselia here. Being outpaced and getting, you know, hit with those Frenzy Plants, probably not great, but look at the rest of this list. Go-Go, Lurantis, Victory Bell. Like, you're going to be fine with this team. You'll be fine. There's really nothing in the meta that beats this whole team. So you're going to have play somewhere in pretty much every aspect of this cup to be able to do something into somebody's team. So that is, you know, that is where I feel like this meta is going to go. Now, at some point, someone's probably going to break it open and play some silly stuff, but at least for the first couple of days of this meta that you started, I think all 5 of these teams are going to be really strong, and Oranguru especially is something I would look out for, maybe even try to counter if you can. I think that Cresselia could be a really interesting way to beat Oranguru here, as both Dunsparce and Cress do have play into it, because if you resist the Psychic confusions with Cresselia, you're able to deal out neutral charge move damage, which is pretty heavy hitting. So you'll be pretty good against the Orangurus here. I think this team is going to be really, really good into the overall meta. Let me know what you're going to run in the Retro Cup, if you're going to run it at all. Maybe you're taking the week off, or, I mean, I would still play Retro Cup. Retro Cup's always been a fun meta. So unfortunately, we do have, you know, still to deal with Feraligatr and some of the big hitters in the Great League, but there's not as many things to worry about in this meta. It might be a little bit of a nice change of pace. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Let me know what you're running down in the comments, and thanks a lot. Catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.